Alright, what's going on, y'all? So in today's video, we finally have my 10 rental teams for the month, accompanied by some nice music. We've got some Diamond and Pearl music for you guys to be big chillin'. But yeah, so I am glad to be bringing you guys my 10 rental teams for the month. I'm sorry they took a little bit longer than might have been expected. You know, usually we like to try to get them out at the beginning of the month, not halfway through the month. But, you know, I've been so excited about making jewelry, I guess you might say, that I haven't really taken the time up until like a day or two ago to actually farm the necessary resources to just finish all of my teams and put them together. So I did do that, and I hope you guys enjoy them. So yeah, thank you for being here. Consider giving a like and subscribe if you aren't already. You know, we are trying to still grow the channel to 1,000 subs, and you know, of course, nobody likes, you know, giving that pitch over and over again, but it's you know, you gotta say it as the person who has the channel, right? If you're here and you appreciate, stay for a while. I appreciate you. So talking about our first team, this is the updated version of my Regidrago, and it was a Zapdos team originally. So I did keep one or two teams for last month and just tried to update them because I felt like while they were strong, we never really found like the best version, you might say. So they were kind of like in the works, I guess. So this team has Zapdos replaced for Sneasler, and we also replaced the Rock Ogerpon for Gholdengo, and we replaced Houndstone for Tornadus. So there's quite a bit of changes here. We kept like 3 good Pokemon, right? Tyranitar, Rillaboom, Regidrago, great Pokemon. And we can do quite a bit with them. So one of the things that I have been exploring recently that I have found very deadly is Leer. So we do have Leer on this Tornadus to pair with Tyranitar, Sneasler, and Rillaboom. I will have to test if Grassy Glide is not getting KOs on Fluttermanes with a -1 Fluttermane facing a Grassy Glide. If it doesn't get the KO, that kind of tells us that we should be running Miracle Seed Rillaboom on this team, and if I need to, I definitely will make that change. So like, I'm not opposed to changing my teams. All I say is that, like, caveat, if you use one of my teams, please just let me know so that like I'll know either to not change the team, or if you plan on using the team, right? Like I'll either not change the team or we can make the change first, right? So just let me know, and we'll talk about it. But I do really appreciate that people use my teams. So yeah, the Leer should pair very well with this team. It's already paired pretty well in testing, so I do like it quite a lot. And Regidrago, of course, just does that like insane damage that needs to be respected. And while its defenses are pretty low, it definitely makes up with it for its just massive HP stat, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it has the biggest HP stat in the game with like 540, like at level 100. It's ridiculous. So it's got big HP, let's just say that, and it deals big damage, so it's a good Pokemon. We added Gholdengo to the team. One of the things that I felt like this team needs a little bit better is just an answer to things like Iron Hands. Like, I don't really know what else the team really needs an answer to. In certain positions, you're going to need an answer to Heatran, right? And so we actually have a pretty good moveset on Gholdengo here for helping deal with things like that. We have the Make It Rain. Make It Rain's great, does big damage. We're not running Steel Terra. I didn't think it was necessary on this team. This team just in general has a lot of damage, and like, yes, Okay, so like, let's say that you had the Steel Terra. You just wipe 2 things off the field right away, and then you have Regidrago in the back, and like, what do they do about it, right? So like, in theory, yes, the Steel Terra is very good, but in like a more competitive situation, the Water Terra is going to be very good. I really don't like Trick Gholdengo that much. Like, it's cool or whatever. We aren't that worried about flying types. We're not that worried about water types. And so having Psyshock, which I tested recently on my Sylveon, it works very well, is going to be great for hitting things like Moltres when it Poison Terras. It's going to be great for hitting things like Iron Hands and things like Okidogi, right? So Psyshock is really good into those matchups. And then the Water Terra Blast is really good into like the Heatran matchup, the Ursaluna matchup, the Tyranitar matchup, like things that aren't going to expect it, right? Like Chiyu. And it's just, I feel like it's a little bit better than Power Gem because it's not, you know, we don't, like I said, like we don't need to be able to hit flying types for super effective. We don't need to be able to hit grass types for super effective, or the other one that I was talking about that's not grass types. You know what I'm saying? We have fun here. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I feel like this team adjustment turned out very good. And in testing, it's been going well. I hope we see good success with it. The one other change that I might make is actually just taking Dire Claw off Sneasler for Protect. So yeah, maybe Miracle Seed on Rillaboom, maybe that on Sneasler, but let me put on the next song. I got a whole playlist for us, my guys. I'm gonna have to talk a little faster this next one, if I want to get through everything. I can't even hear the music right now, but I know that it should be at the correct level, so it's fine. Going on to our next team. This is the Politoed Palafin team that I built with one of my subscribers who is joined to the community with the join button. Me and Vince just kind of talked pretty early in the month about, or like maybe it was the end of last month, either way, it doesn't matter. We were just hypothesizing if Palafin could actually be good. And so we started with the Palafin Politoed core. I said, let's just throw Life Orb on Politoed, because, like, the damage is nice. Like, Life Orb Muddy Water actually hits significantly hard. And so, like, when you need Politoed to get you out of a jam, like, you're gonna see it do, like, maybe 60% to some Pokemon, and, like ones that aren't expecting it to, you know? And they're just like, That's why I was using Specs Vaporeon in my draft league for like multiple weeks back to back, because the Specs Muddy Water just does so much damage. It's great. And in the rain, yeah, even better. So we started with the Palafin Politoed core. He said that he also wanted to try Thundurus on the team because Thundurus I is not this one, let's just say that. I think this is Thundurus I. The other one, Thundurus T, is pretty common to use on rain teams, right? Just because, like, it is a strong special attacker, as Wild Bolt Storm, you can give it specs, things like that. But what I said was, maybe instead we could use Thundurus for speed moderation with Thunder Wave, and actually, my original plan was to give it Nasty Plot, so we were going to run Nasty Plot Thundurus. And I still think that there's times where that would be very useful, but, like, in testing, I never found the time to actually set it up, if that makes sense. Like, so I felt like Leer and Taunt and Thunder Wave are just more beneficial to getting the team going than having Nasty Plot and just being like, oh, what am I doing? Because, like, yes, Thundurus can last a long time, but, like, you know, it's really meant to be more supportive. And I get that, like, there's the catching people off guard factor and potentially sweeping factor with Nasty Plot, but like it didn't work in testing. Going on, we talked about the fact that Iron Hands and Thundurus actually don't share any weaknesses, so there's no disbenefit to running them on the same team. Like, you can run a Thundurus Iron Hands team, and one of them's weak to ground and fairy, the other one's weak to rock and ice. Like, they don't share any weaknesses, so you're completely fine to run Thundurus and Iron Hands with each other. They make a good core, and that's fine, right? I also talked about how King Gambit is good on a rain team, so we considered throwing King Gambit on the team. And then we were trying out some other slots, I think, and I was just kind of like, I think Dragapult looks good on this team, so let's try it. It worked well. Dragapult is fast, it does a lot of damage, and it commands pressure away from Palafin, which is nice. So, like, either way, they're getting hit with something, and it's doing a lot of damage. And we definitely could have gone for the Ghost Terra. The only reason I'm actually running Steel Terra is because that's what I had on my Dragapult. And I think that it's ultimately just better into a few niche situations like Sucker Punch, right? Like, if you are worried about just dying from Sucker Punch, you have... I mean, you better be getting the KO, let's just say that, because you're not living 2 Sucker Punches, my guy. But you have Dragon Darts, right? So, like, I don't really know if Dragon Darts would actually just OHKO a Chien-Pao. I definitely don't think it would. So you would need them to already have damage anyways, which means why not just click U-turn if you're about to lock into something, right? Like, because you're gonna lose anyways if they don't have their sash broken. Sorry, my nose was starting to run a little. But yeah, so all in all, like, I think the team turned out strong. I've already used it in one video, and the only thing that I've changed since that video is that I put Leer on Thundurus, right? Because Leer's a good move. Like, you click Leer, you click Dragon Darts, you prosper. And it's also good with Palafin and Iron Hands, so it's a good team. We also have Helping Hand to do even more damage, so try it. Try the Palafin. It stonks. And I'm actually really happy with how the team turned out, so, it was a good collaboration. It was a good collaboration between us. The third team is my updated version of my Okidogi Scizor team. So, originally we did have Roaring Moon, Okidogi, and Scizor, but we had, I don't know, like, go watch one of the videos. Like, it's like, I forget what the rest of the team was. I think there was a Farigiraf, there was like a Roaring, there was an Ursaluna that was supposed to be slow, but it wasn't, so it kind of sucked. Like, I felt like this is ultimately better. Like, I didn't like trying to make the team move slow, because, like, why make this a Trick Room team? Like, what's the point, really, in my opinion? So, I like this. The one thing that I am thinking about is we now have Remembrance, you could say, that Scizor gets knockoff, my guy. So, like, here two, there four, I could just be running knockoff instead of lunge, and I would probably be clicking it pretty often. Like, I just never find myself clicking lunge. It's always Protect, Bullet Punch, and Swords Dance. And, like, the one instance in which lunge is really good is into Water Ogre Pump. And so, like, really for that reason is one of the main reasons why you run lunge, because, like, lunge will literally just destroy an Ogerpon if it's not the fire one or the rock one, I guess, right? But we kind of have tech for those with you know, I mean, acrobatics. I don't know. The rock one, I mean, Okidogi deals with, right? So I actually really like the core of Okidogi, Roaring Moon, and Scizor. I think it works really well. Iron Hands is a good Pokemon. Like, you know, it's weak to ground, so like you do have overlapping ground weaknesses between Okidogi, Iron Hands, and Arcanine. But in general, I've just been getting very comfortable with using Arcanine compared to just using like Landorus on every team. So you will see on my rental teams for this round that, you know, we've definitely got at least a few Arcanines, and they work. You know, Arcanine's a good Pokemon, like freaking Terry Fairy Blast. You got the Terry Fairy Blast. We actually have a Choice Scarf Water Terra Surging Strikes now, so like I've been trying to get that for a while, couldn't get it, my guy. Like, just being a freaking my guy, stalling on that Water Terra, and I finally got the Water Terra, so we're gaming, and we can actually do good Urshifu things. So yeah, I don't know what else I want to say about this team. It's fun. Use it, like, we're having fun, okay? That's what people need to know. We're just bullying here. So moving on to the next team. Ooh, see, I didn't even pay attention to the song. I mean, this song's chilling, you know? There's nothing wrong with this song, my guy. It even rhymes. There ain't nothing wrong with this song. You know what I'm saying? So next team is the Moltres team that I built based off the popular core, or I don't know how popular it is. I've just seen it on like 2 or 3 other teams, and I usually get wrecked by it. So Moltres, Grimmsnarl, Sinistcha, and Arcanine is an extremely strong core, and it's something that you definitely like need to be prepared for, because what people will do, right, is they'll start like Grimmsnarl or Grimmsnarl Moltres, and they'll click Screen's Nasty Plot, and then they'll click Parting Shot into Sinistcha to heal Moltres back up, and then they'll click Rage Powder and Nasty Plot again, and then if they need to, they'll switch Sinistcha out into Arcanine or Grimmsnarl again, and then they'll Parting Shot and Protect, and you know, it's like this constant, like, you really just never get a chance to actually hit Moltres very well, because like, even if you taunt the Sinistcha, it gets 1 Rage Powder off, they do something, they Protect, they switch out, or, you know, it's like they just find a way to make it work, right? Like, they create like basically a revolving door where it's really hard to actually do significant damage into Moltres, and it just becomes harder and harder to take out. So I thought it'd also be fun to throw Ursaluna on that, you know? Why not have a Calm Mind Ursaluna? We can do big damage. I think a defensive Terra might get Ursaluna far on this team, because this is ultimately a setup team, right? So like, if you're just running normal Terra, you just have the same old weakness that you always had, right? Whereas if I was running something like Grass Terra, or, you know, I guess Ghost Terra, right? But it just might give Ursaluna a little bit more longevity. So either way, I think Ursaluna makes a good addition to this team, because it's another Pokemon that can do massive damage that commands respect, and if you don't give it that respect, it will destroy your team. So, you know, on top of Moltres, they need to worry about Ursaluna. They also need to worry about Shiftry, which can just click Explosion, my guy. Like, so I just, you know, I never got around to finding a better Pokemon for this team besides Shiftry. Like, I tried Iron Hands. The Iron Hands, like, it changed the way that I was using the team so much that I wasn't using the good core anymore because I was trying to use Iron Hands. And so, like, I was like, you know what? Just use Shiftry. Like, just keep Shiftry. We like exploding. Like, we already did it. It worked. You know, I led Shiftry. They didn't protect like dummies. I led Shiftry. I just clicked Rage Powder Explosion. I got a double KO. They brought out Indeedee Armorogue in the back. What did I have in the back? Moltres Grimmsnarl, my guy. It worked. It was a perfect plan. And so, you know, we just like to have a little silly fun here. And, you know, why not, my guy? Why not? It's a good team. Have fun with it, you know? That's ultimately, that's the plan, you know? That's why I share them, because I want you guys to be able to enjoy the teams as well. So going on to the 5th team now, my guys. This is the Kommo-o Sylveon team that I ended up building. Originally, I was trying to build a Skeledirge team, and I just felt like Skeledirge is not that good. Like, Skeledirge, I guess, technically was in the Volcarona slot, but we had Sableye instead of Farigiraf, and then we had something else instead of Sylveon, so it was like Sableye, Kommo-o, Skeledirge, Landorus, Ogerpon, and something. And then we took something else off for Farigiraf. We took something else off for Sylveon. We took Skeledirge off because it wasn't doing enough. And we have Volcarona, so like, really, I just wanted a fire Pokemon, and originally I chose Volcarona because it had Tailwind, but I found myself not clicking Tailwind, like, ever with it, and so just because of that, I felt like maybe it'd be better to just stick with the more offensive moves, and like, even like, not even just running, I'm not running setup either, you know, like, because I value Protect, I value Bug Buzz, I value Giga Drain, and Fiery Dance, my guy. Like, these are all good moves, they all have a place, you know. Giga Drain is good against Urshifu Water, Bug Buzz is good against Farigiraf, Fiery Dance is good against Gholdengo, etc. You know what I mean? Freaking stonks, my guy. Like, and so we really just get like a good move pool out of Volcarona with this set, and having a bulky Citrus Berry Volcarona it just plays a lot better, in my opinion, than just like Hyper Offense Tailwind. And so I feel like I personally have seen myself changing as a player recently, in the sense that I'm running a lot more slower, bulkier, harder hitting Pokemon, and then just slapping a fast Pokemon here or there. Like, if I need to, I recognize if I have a Tailwind team and I need to make it, right? Like, we've already seen a Tornadus team and like a Thundurus team, but mostly we're running like pretty bulky, slow Pokemon. And while I feel like there's definitely situations where someone who's not ready to play the team that way might be disbenefited, I actually find it really nice to have this type of spread on like Ogerpon, on Volcarona, where they're actually not just like, oh, I have 167 speed, like, you know, we have max HP and like max special attack, so like, we're gonna freaking chunk hits and we're gonna dish damage, and that ultimately makes a difference sometimes, especially when you got Sylveon there to just blow everything up that survives it. Sometimes Volcarona doesn't even make it on the field, you know what I mean? Like, we just blew everything up already with Sylveon. Like, Sylveon's so good. It's I don't know what to say. Like, Sylveon is literally so good. Like, it does significant damage into everything that you need it to. Like, we have Fire Terra Blast for Gholdengo. We have Psyshock for Galar Moltres and Okidogi and things. We have Hyper Voice for Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Landorus, like everything, like literally everything that's not those Pokemon that we mentioned. Like, the one thing that we don't have significant damage for on this Sylveon is Heatran, right? And if Heatran Grass Terras, we can just click Hyper Voice or Hyper Beam. If they don't Grass Terra, we can just use Landorus, Ogerpon, or Kommo-o. So, really this team is kind of about like overwhelming things with Sylveon, either through clicking Follow Me Trick Room and then bringing out Sylveon, starting Ogerpon Sylveon and just clicking Follow Me Hyper Voice, or things of that nature, and then you also, while commanding respect to the other Pokemon, like Ogerpon, like Landorus, like Sylveon, you can also say, hey, I have a Kommo-o, and this thing's not going to click Clanger's Soul, my guy. This thing's going to live forever. We're going to click, you know, Iron Defense, and we're going to just chunk hits, and then we're going to dish damage. Like, honestly, so me and Vince, again, the person who has joined my channel, we had been working at one point on finding a good Kommo-o team. And we just felt like Kommo-o takes a little bit too much setup to actually run on a lot of teams, because, like, you have to run Indeedee, and then you have to run Sinistcha, like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is fine, you know, we have Farigiraf, we have Ogerpon. We will find a chance to set it up. And that's really what Kommo-o is about. Like, if you just try to just bring it out willy-nilly, here it is, maybe I'm gonna set it up, like, it's not really always the best thing to do. You need to be more tactical and, like, read the board state. And that's a lot of something that is good about something important in Pokemon, is, like, you need to look at your opponent's side of the field and say, is this a good moment for me to just freely get away with X or Y or whatever, you know? And so if you look at some of my previous Draft League matches, you'll see me having really good success with Muck, because yes, sometimes I was just leading Muck and being like, what are you gonna do, guy? Like, I got Muck. But another thing that I was doing is, you know, we got through a couple turns of trading. My opponent ended up with a side of the field that had nothing for Muck. And I was like, oh yeah, just bring out Muck. Like, just click minimize a few times. Or, like, once Muck's set up, what are you gonna do, my guy? Like, and same with Kommo-o. Like, once it's set up, what are they really gonna do if they don't have answers for it? So, this is a good team. I'm really happy with how our teams for this month turned out. And we're not done yet. We've got 5 more teams in Scarlet version. So just, you know, hold your horses, my guys. I know that I have not been doing a good job talking about, like, switch outs, for example. Look at my hair. Look at how freaking big chillin' we are. I haven't been talking about switch outs, right? Like, Landorus is a good switch out for this. Like, this is a good switch out for this, right? Like, I think I often assume that people will just understand stuff like that, because this song just seems loud, so kind of caught me off guard. Maybe I'll just go on to the next song. But okay, that's a little bit better. There you go. You guys, you sidetracked me. You sidetracked me. What am I don't know what I was saying. Alright. Alright. So, going on to our next round of teams, we have the updated version of my Dusclops Ursaluna team. So, I had explored Dusclops Ursaluna pretty early in the format, like, even before the Weakness Policy Ursaluna team came out. And what I was actually trying at that point was Swords Dance Rillaboom. Like, the whole idea of this team was like, oh, Swords Dance Rillaboom, but also we have Dusclops. What are you gonna do about it, my guy? Like, and it worked extremely well. Like, Dusclops is an extremely threatening Pokemon, and if people are not ready to deal with Dusclops, it will just make the difference, right? Like, and not only that, like, you can just Terra it. Like, you can just Terra, you know, if you really need to avoid the taunt, you can just Terra. And a lot of the time, it's gonna be bulky enough to live, even if they click Dazzling Gleam. If they click Shadow Ball, I don't care, my guy. Like, a lot of the times, if someone starts, like, Chi Flutter, they literally will just click Dark Pulse Shadow Ball, and you just click Dark Terra. Like, what do I care, you know what I'm saying? So, the Dark Terra is really good on Dusclops, and we are now trying the Weakness Policy Ursaluna, so we got that. It's scary, you know, it's worth, you know, you gotta give it respect, but also, we have other things that demand respect on this team, like Swords Dance Rillaboom, and Levitate. We have Vikavolt. And again, we have the Arcanine. So, you know, Arcanine is good not just because it, you know, has Intimidate, right? And Intimidate's really good for weakening your opponent's ability to do the damage they need to do. You know, it's just such a good damage dealer, right? Like, and the Fairy Terra Terra Blast is something I was, you might say, converted to after getting absolutely just wrecked by Fairy Terra Blast with one of my Iron Hands. I was like, oh, it's like that though. Like, it's like that though. Okay, I see you, my guy. Like, so, you know, I'm just saying, like, the Fairy Terra Blast is extremely good on Arcanine because it does just have that immediate Iron Hands answer unless they Terra. So it forces a Terra, right? And if they Terra, we probably have answers otherwise, right? With, like, Vikavolt if they Grass Terra, Rillaboom if they Water Terra, Ogerpon if they Fire Terra, right? So, like, we're gaming. We're gaming. I know how to game. What do you think this is, my guy? Like, I know how to make teams and game and be a little silly Billy, like, so we're having fun, you know? And I am really happy with how this team turned out. Honestly, Vikavolt was kind of just like a, what do I add? Like, I don't know. Vikavolt does a lot of damage. Like, it's not good into Torkoal. I can imagine this team having quite a bit of struggle against a Lilycole team. So, that is something that needs to be thought about. Arcanine is generally pretty good into Lilycole. Like, if you start the right lead, they're not going to feel like they should click after you Eruption, and they'll probably try to click Close Combat instead. So you can just do something like lead Ogerpon Arcanine, and they'll probably just click, like, Close Combat, yeah, and so you can just click Fairy Terra Blast, Ivy Sigil, if you really need to, you know? But you just need to be careful, because, like, if they're running Sash, like, then technically you should be targeting the Ogre, the double targeting the Lilligant, which is the annoying thing, right? So, Lilligant is, it's actually kind of annoying, and, like, I don't know why I'm not using it on my Torkoal team, but, like, we'll get to the Torkoal team next, I think, so. Here's my Torkoal team. So, the reason why I'm not running Lilligant on this team is that, first and foremost, I just think Ogerpon does great damage, right? Like, if I need to, I can just straight one-shot something with Sun-boosted Ivy-Sigil with the mask, right? Like, there's not a lot that's gonna live that. Like, Iron Hands, please, my guy. Like, because what's Iron Hands? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, there's... I didn't notice that this one has Swords Dance. And I don't know how to feel about it. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna let it ride. As they say, you know, I'm gonna let it ride. Because technically, if I lead, you know, Slowbro Ogerpon, they're gonna want to try to stop Slowbro. So I can click Swords Dance, and even if I don't get the Trick Room, we're gaming, right? So that could work, potentially. I do think Spiky Shield would be better, and something else that I was debating on is whether or not I should have a slow Ogerpon to take advantage of Trick Room, because one thing you really don't see a lot right now is slow Fire Ogerpon. Like, you see slow Water Ogerpon, but slow Fire Ogerpon I think could actually be really good, because once it's in Trick Room, like, it just starts smacking things. And, so, you never know, my guy. You never know. I'm just saying. But, yeah, I mean, the main idea was that, like, if I have fast Ogerpon, it can one-shot a lot of things before they even get a chance to try to hit Slowbro, Torkoal, things of that nature, right? And so, we should see pretty decent success with the fast Ogerpon. And I also thought, hey, why not add Muck? You know, we've been having so much fun with Muck recently, and we really weren't using Glastrier to very much success on this team. So, like, we took Clefairy off for Ogerpon, we took Glastrier off for Muck. It's not a double pony team anymore. It's freaking Mudsdale and the fam. It's the Alola team, my guy. Alola! Welcome to my fam. We have Vikavolt, we have Mudsdale, we have Muck. Vikavolt's not from Alola, but, like, it has Alola vibes, you get what I'm saying? Like, so, they're all freaking chilling. Like, they're all Alola. And, yeah, so, I really do like the change to Life Orb Slowbro. I just think it's a really good Pokemon. And if we do need to deal with something like Amoonguss, I guess, we still have Ogerpon to click Follow Me, so there's that. I think the choice specs is definitely something that does not always benefit you on Vikavolt, but I just don't like Throat Spray on Vikavolt, like, for the same reason in this format that I haven't liked Throat Spray on Sylveon. Like, when I see it not doing enough damage on that first turn that I click it, like, it just hurts my soul a little. And it's really just because this format has become so aggressive that, like, if you don't do significant damage when you need to, you're probably gonna lose. So, so I'm opting for specs on things like Sylveon and Vikavolt instead of Throat Spray, and, you know, sure, we can still afford it on, like, Ursaluna because it's bulky enough, but Vikavolt and Sylveon sometimes, depending on how the game goes, only get to do, like, one thing before they just die. So, like, you gotta make it count, right? But, yeah, so we have a moment to just talk about it, and general idea, right? Like, you start Ogerpon Slowbro, or, like, Muck Slowbro, like, just something to be a little silly-billy and just, like, threaten, right? And so you generally will be pretty able to get off the Trick Room, especially if you start Follow Me. And then once you're in Trick Room, you know, you have everything at your disposal to just wreck, right? You have Torkoal, you have Muck to set up with, you have Mudsdale to set up with, you have big damage from Vikavolt, you have Ogerpon, which is a Pokemon that's like, if they don't respect it, it's just gonna wreck them. Like, so like, you can't just let Ogerpon sit there and not do something about it, right? Life Orb Slowbro, I love, especially in the sun, like the Fire Terra Life Orb Slowbro with Flamethrower. It just does so much damage, like, it's great. Great Pokemon. We're loving it. You know, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, like, all that stuff, like. And I mean, if you can't get up Trick Room, like, you can pretty easily just start Follow Me Torkoal, Follow Me Mudsdale, or I mean, Follow Me Muck or something, and you're gonna be able to do really big damage to the things you need to, right? So, we have fun here. This sounds like a Johto song, but I know it's not. Oh, it's Fishermen and Sailors. We're just fishermen and sailoring, my guy. So, going on to our 8th team for the month, this is the Sableye team that I ended up building. So I wasn't done with Sableye yet, you know, I said, on the other team I was like, this isn't working, like, Sableye's kinda bad. And then, on this team I was like, well, hold on a second, like, what if I just use Sableye, like... So Sableye is our speed control on this team. It has Fake Out, it has Quarsh, it has Encore. So Sableye really just is doing Sableye things. I do think that sometimes knockoff Sableye is better than foul play Sableye. So that is something I'm thinking about with changing this team. Something else you might notice is that we have Crunch and we have Ice Spin. Those are things that are up for debate, right? Like, I felt like with an Arcanine Chien-Pao team, it's actually nice to have Crunch instead of Sacred Sword, because we have answers to opposing Chien-Pao. We have answers to King Gambit, right? And so, really, you're probably going to get more benefit from having Crunch in the case that, let's say, your opponent starts Tornadus, right? And they're like, oh, my only way out of what he's doing is to Ghost Terra my Tornadus or Ghost Terra my Thundurus, and you just click E-Speed Crunch instead of E-Speed Sucker Punch, because either way, something is hitting, and it's hitting hard. You know what I mean? And so, it's just little things like that can make a difference sometimes. One thing I am thinking about with this team is taking Icy Wind off for Protect. What I like about Icy Wind is that it says, I don't need to use Sableye. Like, I can, Sableye's good, but what if I just speed moderate with Icy Wind so that, like, even your Scarf Landorus isn't going to move before my Scarf Urshifu guaranteed. Like, your Scarf Urshifu isn't going to move before my, I don't know, like, my Urshifu, and my Fluttermane. So, we have ways to deal with Tailwind with Sableye. We have ways to deal with generally fast Pokemon that aren't in Tailwind by Icy Wind. And I liked Thundurus on this team for whatever reason. I just felt really good about it. In practice, it's been doing very well. I did last minute take Flash Cannon off for Thunderbolt because when you really think about which one you're probably not going to click that often, it's Flash Cannon. Like, the only thing that Flash Cannon is good into is rock types, like, and ice types. Excuse me. but a lot of the time, like, let's say you're going up against Chien-Pao, like, your Thunderbolt is going to do just as much damage, or as enough damage, you might say, as Flash Cannon. So, like, you really don't need to worry about Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon into Sylveon, you have Sludge Bomb, like, Flash Cannon into Tyranitar, like, we have Urshifu, right? And so we, like, have enough things to pressure Terras out of the rock types, out of the ice types, right? And so I'm not really worried about running Flash Cannon, and I feel like Thunderbolt is a lot more reliable sometimes than Wild Bolt Storm, so, like, you will see people starting to just run both moves on their specs or AV or whatever they're running, so I feel good about this team, and I also like keeping the Dark Terra on Sableye in case we come down to an end game where we, like, literally just have Sableye, and we're like, what are you gonna do about a double Dark Stab boosted Foul Play like that? Like, so we're just having fun. Second to last, we have a Pelipper team. So we've got Pelipper and Basculegion. We have the Life Orb on Basculegion. To, you know, I mean, honestly, it's just the best item on Basculegion. Like, it just is. If you do have adaptability, you can knock out things like Flutter Mane with Life Orb Aqua Jet without tearing, which is nice. But Swift Swim is kind of good, you know. Swift Swim's kind of good, especially if you don't have the chance to get off Tailwind, right? And so the Tailwind is just there if you really need it, but sometimes you're not going to be able to get it, and you need to accept that. Wide Guard, one of the best moves right now, 100%, and, like, nobody's using it. So use Wide Guard. Wide Guard is a good move, and we have Covert Cloak to stop us from being faked out. We have Dark Terra if we need to stop us from being taunted. So, like, I will get Tailwind if I need to, unless they just do enough damage. Then I won't. But, like, you know, in most cases, if we're really in a jam, like, versus a fake out, taunt, whatever, like, I can just use my Covert Cloak or use my Dark Terra and get my Tailwind, right? But more often than not, we're just gonna use it for the, you know, maybe I'll get the Tailwind. If not, you know, we can set Rain. We have Wide Guard. Wide Guard's amazing. Like, Pelipper actually does pretty decent damage with Hurricane and Hydro Pump. Like, they're both very powerful moves, and it makes up for the lack of special attack, which, not really a lack, because, like, I have a lot of investment in special attack. Like, you know, Pelipper still hits, like, 300-ish, like, 320 or so at level 100, so, like, it's not doing damage. Like, it can definitely do damage, so it's a good asset. It's a good asset for sure. Dragonite, you know, Dragonite, Chien-Pao are actually pretty good on a rain team, so this is, you know, just a good core in general. The Gholdengo is good on rain teams, and then Iron Hands is good, right? So and what beats Iron Hands is ground Pokemon, which we're using a rain team. So what beats Iron Hands, fairy Pokemon, we have Gholdengo, right? Like, so in general, we have a lot of checks, and this was actually another team that was co-built with our channel member Vince, so shoutouts to Vince. We do end up building some pretty fun teams together, and I appreciate him for that. So, you know, if you want to build teams with me and have them potentially featured in my 10 rental teams for the month, you know, feel free to hit the join button. You know, we'll make some fun stuff. This is our last team for the month, unless we do any team building with anyone. You know, if you're a content creator, you can also hit me up to collab. And, you know, if you're one of the homies, of course, like, hit me up to do a collab, and we can just make like one team together instead of like doing coaching, right? You know, it's like, it's different, right? Like if you do coaching with me, I might feature your teams in my rental teams, but like if we collab on something, you know, just to build a team together, you know, I might feature that, especially if you want to feature it yourself. You know, I don't have the room right now. I can't put it on my 10 teams, but like if you want to put one of our team built teams on your host, you know, host it for me, I'll use it. And we'll have our team. So yeah, this is the last team. This is kind of just meant to be like a Good Stuff's team with Sinistcha and Ursaluna. This is another team that was inspired by team building with my channel member Vince. Vince just mentioned the idea of making a Farigiraf Ursaluna team, I think, or something. And we didn't build the team right away, but like I built this team right after we talked about it. And then the next day we built another team that looked almost identical to this, except it didn't have Heatran. Yeah, so ultimately, like, we've circled around this team once or twice, and this was a version that I felt like looked pretty strong, and so I built it, and, you know, it worked in testing. So talking about the team, we have Life Orb Sinistcha, which I generally like. I've talked about why I like it. It just, you know, when you're dealing damage with a move like Giga Drain, Life Orb is only adding to the amount that you heal back, right? So, like, does it really matter if you have Life Orb if you're just healing more back because you have Life Orb, right? Like, and so I generally like Life Orb on Sinistcha. It actually hits very hard. We also have Scald in order to deal with things like Arcanine, which could be a threat. I mean, doesn't really look like that big of a threat into this team, if we're being honest, but like in certain situations, you know, like depending on the board state, you just might have to do it to him, you know what I mean? Freaking click Scald, get a one-shot on Arcanine, because you can, because they're not expecting it, like for the stonks, you know? So I really do like Sinistcha. Strength Sap is great, Hospitality is great, Ursaluna demands respect. Landorus is really good for helping set up Trick Room, because when you start Landorus Farigiraf, you say, hey, yes, right here, I have a Trick Room setter, but what if I just clicked Flying Terra Blast and one-shot one of your Pokemon while I was setting up Trick Room? So, like, I'm all about the damage these days, you know? Like, I just like getting one-shots. I just, you know, stop them from doing anything, and then I do stuff, you know? That's the fun, you know? Slowly gravitating towards Water Terra Farigiraf, mainly because one of the ways that I have lost with Farigiraf multiple times is somebody just starting, someone just starting Ogre Pond and Tornadus and just clicking, Tailwind, freaking Ivysaur, my guy, like, and just get one shot, like, it's freaking bonkers, like, or, I mean, Rain Dance, Ivysaur, but, yeah, Rain Dance plus Ivysaur will just one-shot Farigiraf, so, like, having the Water Terra helps. It also helps versus Urshifu, of course, and, I mean, it's not as good against Chi Flutter, like, I'll admit that, but, like, we can find ways to deal with Chi Flutter. I'm not concerned about Chi Flutter that much. Like, I have Landorus, I have Farigiraf, like, we're fine. You know, I'll freaking one-shot something if I have to, like... You know what I'm saying? Like, do you get what I'm saying? I will one-shot something. Anyways, we have Iron Hands. Iron Hands is a good Pokemon. We all know Iron Hands is a good Pokemon. In general, like, a good way to build a team right now is, like, use one of Landorus or Arcanine have some sort of speed moderation or enough bulk to chuff this stuff, as we like to say, my guy. So, like, Iron Hands, you know, Farigiraf, Thundurus or Landorus, Sinistcha, chuffing the stuff, you know, and then having Landorus or Arcanine. Screens is good, you know, and then just the rest of the team kind of falls in line with whatever's needed, right? Like, the one thing I'll say is that this team needed Fire Terra Iron Hands, but my Fire Terra Iron Hands is made for using Assault Vest. So, like, this Iron Hands actually kind of needs to Terra to live certain things like Fluttermane, and because of that, you just need to be a little more careful. Like, the Assault Vest Heatran, I definitely understand why more people are running it. It is good. And, yeah, so, like, in general, this is a Trick Room team, right? Like, I do like Trick Room. Even back in Sword and Shield, like, I was a Trick Room user avidly. Like, I really like Trick Room. You know, while we're on the topic, this team is actually a recreation of one of my favorite Trick Room teams that I made in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, like, the original team was Slowbro, Torkoal, Vikavolt, Mudsdale, Calyrex Ice, and Wigglytuff. There was another version where I took Calyrex Ice off for Iron Ball Kyogre. And so, just a lot of fun, you know, like, Trick Room's fun, especially because it's really not that hard to, like, make a team that can utilize Trick Room. And when your stats are not spent in being fast, they're spent in being bulky and hitting hard and living things. And so Trick Room is good for that too. Like, it gives you more access to a wider variety of Pokemon. Oh, I don't just have to use Urshifu. I don't just have to use freaking Fluttermane, my guy. Like, look at all these good slow Pokemon like Slowbro and Vikavolt and Mudsdale and Torkoal. We're gaming. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Do consider leaving a like and subscribe to support the channel. And I'll try to get you guys some more battle content soon. So, yeah. Have a good day, and peace out.